Hey, how's it going? If somehow you don't know, Dead Rails is the biggest game on Roblox right now with a super simple premise. You sell the gold, buy the coal, get on the train, kill the zombies, explode, get back on the train, and bam, you win. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that, and in today's video, by popular request, I'm going to make an updated, complete beginner's guide to get you started in Dead Rails, where I'll be showing you the best ways to survive, armor your train, loot, what to be careful of, and of course, how to beat the game. If you do end up enjoying today's video as well, or finding it helpful in any way, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Please subscribe. I spent like 20 hours working on this and I need you to subscribe like right now. Thank you.
All right, video time. Phew. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is pick a class. However, classes cost bonds. And bonds can be a nightmare to farm for, so we'll just assume that you're brand new to the game and you have no class. So what we're going to do first instead is just go straight for this lobby thing and load into a game. Now after you first sell the gold here like it tells you to do at the top of the screen, the first thing that I always do is I buy 2 pieces of coal and I buy a single barbed wire. You can pick up all 3 items by using the sack and pressing F on the items to shove them into your sack. Yeah, for the rest of the video, we're just going to call it a bag, maybe. Oh yeah, also you'll have $10 left over, so make sure that you go into the doctor's office and buy a single bandage too. You'll need it, I promise you. Anyways, we're going to weld the barbed wire right to the middle of the entrance of the driving area of the train. Literally just hold it out, smack it on the floor, and press Z, and bam, absolutely impenetrable defenses. But there's actually more that we could do before we leave the spawn. There's a newspaper stand on the front right side, and you can actually go and do one of 2 things here. You can either weld the newspapers down to have even more defenses, or you could just use them as extra fuel. However, the armor strat for me is absolutely goated. All that's left to do now is start our journey. So right after you embark on your great escapade, you'll start to notice that there's random buildings off to the left and right sides of your train in no particular order, but they're going to be important to early game to get some of that absolutely fresh loot. So each time that you come across these, especially towards the start, you're going to want to stop by them and loot. However, there will be more times than not where zombies spawn, and these dudes can be super annoying, especially since your only weapon is going to be a shovel. You'll just have to smack the crap out of these guys. However, there is a strat that you can utilize to make this a little bit easier on yourself. Before you enter a building, make sure that you circle around it so that you could draw any zombies to the edges, and if you can hit them through the walls and make looting locations a lot easier. Sometimes they will find a way to you before you even get near the building, but there's not really much you can do about that. However, in these buildings you can basically find anything from train armor to fuel to random bits of furniture, which can also be used as fuel, guns, gold, literally you could find just about anything. And there's a ton of different building types to find, and you can probably use common sense to know what like kind of stuff is going to spawn inside. Like the furniture store is going to have chairs, a gunsmith's going to have guns. It's easy enough. After a little bit of time of looting the buildings and going along the railroad, you'll come across this beautiful, amazing entrance, and your train's just going to glide right in. And this is going to be your first stop along your journey, the safe area. A place to just chill, take your time, and begin learning about the second main aspect of the game, buying stuff. Yes, capitalism in my video game. So there's going to be 2 things you're going to want to do here. If you found anything along your journey thus far, labeled as valuable or even junk, you can take it right over here to the trading post, drop them onto the table, and get your sweet, juicy money bag. Unless it's paintings, honestly, just use those as more train armor. They give you like no money. And second, we can take some time to explore the area. We've got a handful of different shops, a gunsmith, a sheriff's office, a general store, a doctor's office, all of which are kind of self-explanatory, other than the sheriff's office, but we'll get into that soon. And in each of these buildings, you can find everything that you've ever wanted as a red-blooded American. Small guns, bigger guns, healthcare that isn't free, and at least for the general store, basically anything, because each time that you come across a safe area, which is every 10,000 meters on your train's odometer thing, you'll have a general store with random items from coal to train armor to people armor to even things like Molotovs or lamps, just about everything in between. It's somewhere around this time where the sun's going to go down and nighttime will begin. And with it comes a variety of enemies that can kill you super quick. Anything from zombies to vampires to werewolves, all with their own unique damage and health. And each night you will have one enemy type that will be spawning. There's also a storm event that happens sometimes. No enemies are going to spawn, but lightning will definitely still kill you, so just stay inside the train or a building if you see lightning. However, the safe areas will keep you safe, as you would imagine, because while enemies will spawn, there will be these turrets on each corner that'll kill anything. thing. They do only have so much ammo though, so just don't stay for too many nights. Nighttime does only last a couple of IRL minutes though. It starts to get dark around 10 p.m. and lasts until 5 a.m. where everything will despawn anyways if there's still anything alive. If it is morning and you're in a safe area, there should be plenty of bodies lying around you, and depending on what kind of enemies spawn that night, you can do a couple of things here. If you get vampires or werewolves, you could take them and sell them at the trading post for $15 or $20 respectively. Just stuff them into your sack and drop them on the table and bam, money. However, if it was a zombie night, you could just use them as fuel. That's all that they're useful for. If you do find yourself completely out of fuel though, or almost out of fuel with no money or coal in the general store, you can actually stay at these towns for a couple of nights just to get some extra money, or if you need to, use the extra bodies for fuel. If you do have coal though, just keep in mind that it only takes 3 coal to get from one safe area to the next, so nothing super crazy. You don't have to buy 10 million of them and line your whole train with them. There are definitely other enemy types in the game as well that we'll go over later, but that's basically all that you need to know early game regarding nighttime. Stay in safe areas if you can, otherwise try to stay in your train. So long as you have any kind of defense set up, it'll stop like anything from getting to you. Hopefully you've stayed a night or two at a safe area, maybe you found some expensive items, and you've got maybe $100 or $200. Well, what should you do with it? Well, provided that you've got enough fuel to get you at least to the next safe area, a weapon should be the next thing that you focus on. The 4 weapons that'll always be in the gunsmith are a revolver, a shotgun, a rifle, and the Maxim gun. The Maxim gun is for the train, we'll worry about that later, but now's our time to weigh our options about the other 3. The revolver can 2-shot zombies to the head up close, but is very inaccurate, and it has limited damage at range. The shotgun, while costing a little bit more, shreds almost every single enemy in the game at point blank to the head. However, its range is extremely limited, otherwise it's great. And the rifle is very accurate, has really good damage at range, and it also one-shots zombies to the head up close. So it kind of depends on how much money you have and what you're willing to sacrifice on. Personally, I think the shotgun is the first weapon that you should buy, since it's a great middle ground between damage and price, and you'll need one for the next area that I'm going to drag you to kicking and screaming. To touch briefly on the Maxim gun, it's something that you weld to your train, and you have to have these boxes of ammo welded nearby it to use it. Honestly, literally don't buy these. You get one for free later in the game, and unless you're playing multiplayer, they are effectively useless early game. Hot take, I know. Side note as well, barbed wire itself is a weapon, and if you're able to get some to line your train with from the general store, it's just as important as having a gun. There are definitely some other enemies that you'll have to worry about, and now that you've hopefully gotten some more gear for yourself, you can try to fight them. First, you've got wolves. They aren't really a threat. They're just kind of a lot of them. You can also feed them corpses to make them your friends, and you can stuff them back into your sack and let them out to help you attack other enemies or distract enemies from you. We've also got bandits, which have revolvers, rifles, and shotguns, and will just shred you if you're not careful. They can also spawn, more commonly than not, with horses. It's fairly easy to kill these dudes at range, and you can take their horses and put them in your sack to use to get around faster. Also, you got the werewolves, of course, a ton of damage, a ton of HP, fast, big, and scary. You got vampires, they'll teleport around a little bit. Not super dangerous, just a little bit annoying. And there's also a ton of different variants of the base zombie, which kind of deserve a video of their own, really, but in the meantime, I've covered the basics of the ones that you'll have to worry about. Now, along your journey so far, I'm sure that you found all kinds of random bits and stuff to throw literally all over your train. However, there's actually a super easy way to armor your train and to help get you from one place to another. All you need is literally 1 sheet of metal and some barbed wire. Put the metal sheet right here and just line up some barbed wire near it. It's literally all that you need to be able to survive for the entire game. However, for some added protection, you could take things like wagon wheels and put them on your windows to stop the earlier mentioned bandits from shooting you while you're driving. It gives you great visibility and bulletproof protection. Literally goated. Also, some barbed wire around the sides of your train, it wouldn't hurt, especially by the driver's side, just to stop things from climbing and hitting you. Now, we do have a few special locations in Dead Rails, including a mining town, the military base, the castle, the Tesla lab, and regular towns, which, unlike the other locations I just listed, will spawn multiple times on the map and are a great place to go because you not only challenge yourself, but you also get crazy loot. They'll be really obvious and they'll spawn on either the left or the right side of the road, and they will be flooded with zombies. Extremely hard to miss locations. It's a really good idea to take things slow here generally, unless you're playing with a ton of people. It's really easy to get overwhelmed and lose your entire run. So just try to take the zombies mostly one-on-one and focus on headshots. Also, being on your horse might be good here to kind of lure all the zombies out. I may be bad at hitting headshots in other games, but it's really easy in Dead Rails, so just back up, take your time, line up a good shot. The towns can vary in size and will always have a bank and a church, but every other building in the town is still worth looting. However, the main ones that you'll want to loot, if the town has them, are a sheriff's office, a gunsmith, and a doctor. Between these, you'll have all the essentials that you're going to need to get from town to town, though the church and the bank are always worth looting. The church has a chance to spawn with holy water and crucifixes, which both sell for a lot, or alternatively both can be used as weapons against any enemies that you find. As for the bank, you have to find this dude with a top hat, which will drop this code that you can then use to open the safe and get gold and silver bars and bonds, the hard to get currency. Again, take your time, it's worth looting as much as possible. If you need to get back in your train and wait out a night as well, totally okay, there's no rush. Unless mommy finished the chicken nuggets, then you might be in a bit of a rush. I know that feeling. I'll briefly go over the major locations on the map because there's some updates to them, but I won't go super into detail to keep things a little bit shorter here, but I will give a general overview of the locations and the strats behind them. And the first one is going to be the town of IDK Sterling, town of Sterling. This place is an abandoned mining town that has no other loot besides spawns, and always spawns on the left side of the tracks at any random point during your run. But it's more than just an abandoned town, because if you go behind the church, there is a mine that can be opened up with the provided dynamite over here and the torch inside of the sheriff's office. Inside, you'll find some grumpy skeletons and exploding zombies. That'll pose a lot of challenges, but if you have enough persistence, you can get a lot of coal, gold, and silver. And there's even a secret Easter egg to get this really cool green sword, the Jade Blade or something, whatever. I do have a whole video on that you can watch though. Super cool location, probably my favorite spot in the game. The military base, prior to what I thought before, I think is probably the hardest location in the game, having zombies with swords and guns, and a lot of them. Much like a regular town, this is a place that you can easily get overwhelmed, and you're almost on a time limit as well, because after about a minute or two, these zombie horse army guys are going to spawn, and they're extremely annoying and tanky. So what I would do is, as quickly as you can, kill a bunch of the army zombie guys, and then climb the ladder over here, and just kind of shoot down at the ones that spawn, until they stop spawning, and then just look for the military captain looking guy. He drops a key, boom, put the cannon in your sack, and you get all kinds of other bonds and stuff. The captain guy himself too sells for 150 at the sheriff's office, so I would probably, probably take him. Speaking of which, the bandits that I talked about earlier, they're great to take because you can sell them also at the sheriff's office for $35 a piece, so just, don't forget that. The castle I used to think was the hardest location, but honestly, I figured out a super easy way to cheese it. There's a ton of werewolves and vampires that'll spawn here, and they're the only enemies that you have to worry about unless it's nighttime. But I'm going to be your parent and say that you can't go outside that late playing with your friends. The way that I like to fight the castle now, and the way that you should too, is to take one of the horses from your sack, place it down, and just circle the castle. Legit, just keep going, fighting the vampires that teleport outside, and after they eventually stop spawning, you can kind of set up your horse to be able to bait out the werewolves, and just do the same thing, where you're riding away and shooting the werewolves behind you. This is also where the shotgun is going to come extremely in handy because it shreds the werewolves. And I will say, of the werewolves, sometimes they'll break and get stuck inside of rooms. This is where kind of a rifle will come in handy. You just don't really want to be close to these guys if they decide to start chasing you, because they really hurt. They hurt a lot, but there is a limited amount of them. And after you beat them, boom, easy vampire knife, easy other loot in the thing. Lastly, for the current game's special areas, the Tesla Lab. Now, the Tesla Lab isn't really that hard by itself. Actually, it's the easiest location of all of them because no enemies actually spawn here. You can freely loot around and actually just take loads of expensive stuff and just leave if you'd like. However, there is another secret that you can do by putting all of the werewolf pieces together right here, pulling this lever, which summons a huge wave of zombies and a lightning storm, as well as the boss at the end of the game. However, after the zombie wave, you can get some bonds and a secret weapon that shoots lightning called the Electrocutioner. Now that is pretty much going to be the recipe through the end of the game. Stop when you need to, stay in safe areas when possible, don't go out at night, your mother and I already talked about this with you. Oh yeah, and sell stuff too. And eventually you'll make it to the end where you fight off a wave of bandits, turn this giant thing right here, fight some more bandits, and boom, you win. Or if you did the Tesla Lab thing, you'll fight this big giant buff man, in which case a combination of the cannon, a Maxim gun, and the Electrocutioner will do wonders for you in this fight. And that's pretty much Dead Rails as a newer player. Anyways, if you need any other further help, feel free to let me know in the comment section below and I or somebody else will answer. And subscribe, please, I'm begging you. If you subscribe, I might be able to feed my family for another month. And please like the video too, it helps out a lot more than you could imagine. And of course, if you want to help out the channel just a little bit more, you could become a channel member like the incredible people up on screen with the join button or link below. With all that said, I hope that you've enjoyed. I hope this video helps you out a lot. If you need anything else, like I said, leave a comment below and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, dudes.